week of crafting. We have Katelyn and Kayleigh here today. We're going to be making these salt dough ornaments for the Advent season. We're going to make 8 of them based on the Advent story. So we're going to start off with making the dough. So the way to make the dough is, well, it's 2 cups of flour. We'll start with Kayleigh, and then I'll bring the flour over to you. So do you know how to measure the flour?
No.
Do you want me to help you?
Okay.
You're doing pretty good.
I don't like to touch flour.
We're not going to be eating these, so it's okay to touch the ingredients with, oh, you don't have to dig it in there. Do you want me to show you first, and then?
Okay.
Okay, so if you take the flour and scoop it.
That's all right.
I know, and then shake it around like that. That's a good cup. So you can just put it in there. Scoop it. Shake it. You want to add a little bit more. Like that. That's a pretty good cup. Cool. Excellent. That's also a very nice cup. And I will do 2 cups for myself. Okay, and then it's going to be half a cup of salt. Do you want me to pour the salt for you, or do you want to try and pour the salt?
You do it.
Okay. So the salt is going to help preserve these and make sure they don't go weirdly moldy in the basement. And this dough will not be edible, so please do not eat it. It will taste very bad. You're welcome. Okay, there's half of salt. And then it will be 3/4 of water. And we're using warm water because it just makes the kneading process a little bit nicer on your hands. Do you want me to pour the water for you too? So actually, what we're going to do is we're going to add it slowly. So I'll start off with yours. If you want to mix these together, if you want to mix the salt and flour together, I'm going to slowly pour this in, and you're going to just stir it, okay? Oops. And the reason we do this is to make sure the dough doesn't get too soggy, because depending on how dry it is outside, we're going to need more or less water. And if it gets too hard to mix it with the spoon, you can always go at it with your hands, which is the fun part as well.
I don't like mixing dough with hands.
Well, it's gonna...
Maybe Katelyn will like it. Not me.
I have kind of fun mixing dough with hands. You get all messy. But I might have to give you a bit more water. Okay. Wait, I'm going to start pouring, and you start mixing.
Love was born at Christmas. Stars and angels gave the sign.
So do you guys know a lot about Advent?
Oh, what?
Advent. Do you know what Advent is?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, Advent is the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. So it's the 4 Sundays before Christmas. And we use this time as a time of waiting and preparation to celebrate the coming birth of Jesus. So this is actually a pretty cool recipe to do Advent with, because there's a lot of waiting involved in it, especially because it takes like 3 hours to bake. I sort of grab it and like mush it like that, and try and get it all incorporated. Yep. And it's good to add the water in small little bits because you don't want it to be too soggy.
Yikes.
Yikes. I can help you guys get it to the last little bit of consistency. Woo!
Love came down at Christmas. Love lovely and love divine. Love was born at Christmas. Stars and angels gave the sign.
So yeah, the dough should be soft and not too sticky. Yeah, kind of like, if it looks like this, you're probably good. Okay. Okay, so now that we have the dough, we are going to, I'm just going to shovel these things away.
That's heavy.
It's heavy. I know, it's pretty dense. We're going to take some parchment paper because we're going to roll out the dough. You're going to flatten it out, kind of like into a sort of circular-ish shape. Okay. Alright. So, once you flatten it out, we're going to roll it out. If you kind of go from the inside out, push like that. Yeah, you're going to want to make it thin because that'll help with the baking time. And it'll make sure it doesn't crack in the oven. Okay, and now once you've done that, you can flip it around and push that way. If you kind of go from the center out to the four corners, that helps a lot. The next step is going to be placing around the templates that we've printed off. So you'll have these provided in a PDF.
That's cardboard.
This
and
is
you cut
cardboard.
them.
I did. But these are templates. So if you're going to place them around your dough to try and figure out, here, I'll give you one of each. So you're going to want to fit them all onto your dough.
Oh, great.
Yes, it'll be kind of like a puzzle. So if you look at this, the best way to do this is to try and figure out a way to fit it together so that you have the least space in between the pieces. So like that's pretty good. That won't work. But if you put this guy, you see how it curves there? If you put that around the curve there, and with a little bit of space here like that, that's a pretty good place to put it. That's going to be for the trumpet as well. Yeah, do you want any help with it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so this is all going to make 8 ornaments, and they're all going to go through story. Move this one down a little bit because it's a bit cracked up there. It's all going to go through the story of the Advent from Zechariah and Elizabeth, who are the parents of John the Baptist, all the way to Jesus.
Shall be our token. Love be yours, love be mine. Love from God to all of us. Love complete, the gift of
I'm going to start with helping you cut out. So if you look at these, like let's look at the manger, you're going to want to just cut around the edge like that. So if you hold it down and just cut like that.
Okay.
To all the pieces. Okay.
love came down at Christmas.
Can you guys guess why we're making, like, we have a sheep, and that's pretty obvious why we're making it. But like
Because the shepherds.
because the shepherds, and like Mary and Joseph, for Jesus' parents. Do you know why we're making a trumpet and a wind?
No.
It's because we're starting off looking at the story of John the Baptist's birth. Do you guys know who John the Baptist is?
Yes.
Yes, he was related to
out.
Jesus.
Can I take the done chunks out? Because then it makes it easier
Yep.
because it's blocking the wind.
You can definitely take the pieces off. Yeah, so John the Baptist was actually Jesus's cousin.
Cousin.
Yeah. And he was proclaiming the way of Jesus, which is why we included a trumpet as like a proclamation of the king who was coming. And the wind, because he was filled with the Holy Spirit since his birth. And the Holy Spirit's represented a lot as the breath or the wind. So that's why we're using the wind to represent the Spirit, because it's really hard to find visual representations for him. But it's cool because all throughout the Bible story of Advent, you see the way that the Holy Spirit is working. You got the wind? All our pieces are now cut out, and we're going to start assembling them. So, yes. So we're going to start by making these praying hands. So these hands, can you guys guess, I guess, who they represent?
Praying. God.
So these hands represent Elizabeth, who is John the Baptist's mother, because in the temple... Yeah, so Zechariah, who is a priest, he was serving in the temple, and an angel came to him, and he told him that he and his wife Elizabeth were going to have a son in their old age because their prayers had been heard. And so we are going to put these hands together. So if you want to... Oh, you do have your hands? Nice. So we're going to want to overlap them. Yeah, if you want to pull them down a little bit, like that. That's good. And the way that we can glue these things together is by taking a little bit of water and putting them on both sides of the hand. So do you want to get a little bit of water on your finger? And then put it on the surface of the hand. And then on this one, put a bit of water on this side too. Okay, now, yeah, and then you want to put it on top like that. Nice. And so, good. Now, do you want to put some water on both sides of the hands and layer them back on like that? It doesn't have to be too much water, but just enough to make it a bit wet. Yeah, so the cool thing about John the Baptist's birth is that Elizabeth was actually barren. Do you guys know what barren means when a woman is barren?
No.
It means that she couldn't have children. So God let her have a child, and that child was John the Baptist.
Wait, why couldn't she have children?
That's a good question. There are a lot of reasons why people can't have children, so we're not really sure why. But in those days...
Mommy could have a...
She could have children.
Yes.
But Elizabeth couldn't. And so in those days, if you couldn't have a child, you were often seen as somebody who wasn't favored by God. But by giving her a child, God also took away that shame that she had in her society. So what we're going to do now is we're going to punch a hole through the hands. So I put mine about like right below the thumb, and that's going to be so that you can thread a string through it afterward. So if you want to have them praying downward, I guess you can put it through the wrists. But I like to put it around the palm so that it's praying upwards, like towards heaven and God. So do you want to punch a hole with this? Perfect. And you want to punch a hole kind of around there. And make sure it's not too close to the edge.
Yeah.
Perfect. So once you got your hands done, just going to put it on the cookie sheet.
But these are not cookies.
They're not cookies, but the sheet is one to hold the cookies.
Yes.
And so we still call it a cookie sheet for sake of understanding. All right, so now we're going to do
Trumpet.
the trumpet.
No.
Do you guys remember what the trumpet is for?
John the Baptist, because he was called.
Yeah, so the trumpet is for John the Baptist because he was chosen to proclaim Jesus' coming. So Jesus is a king, right? And so like you blow the trumpet to announce the king. Take this piece. So if we take, here I'll show you with this one. So here's the piece with the wide end. So this one. And you're going to take this piece and you're going to put this over top. Yeah, that's pretty much right. Okay. And now you can put the mouth opening piece just overlapping like that. And if you want to, I put a little mouthpiece here for the trumpet. So all I did was take a bit of this scrap dough that we had left over.
No.
Do you want this?
No.
Do you want to have the little mouthpiece?
Okay.
Okay, so we just cut out a little rectangle. And you can glue that on with water as well. Okay, now this one's a bit trickier to get the pencil through because it's such a thinner area. But if you poke it around the biggest arc, you can put it either in the middle or at the top. Now, it's pretty fragile. Do you want me to, I'll transfer it for you. And they're not going to expand, so it is okay if they're close to each other. Perfect. That's lovely. Okay, so after the trumpet representing John the Baptist, now we're going to make the wind, or the Spirit. Do you guys remember the role of the Holy Spirit in this entire story?
So John the Baptist, because he was, the Holy Spirit was like in him.
Yep.
Like all the time.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit filled John the Baptist since his birth, and it's cool because as you go throughout the Christmas narrative, the Holy Spirit, you see him moving in John the Baptist and in Jesus and in every single inch of the story. So yeah, just like that. So if you want to, we're going to layer it together. So I put the biggest one on the bottom.
Which one's Here we go.
This, yeah, that one. And now you take the second big one and layer it just kind of like that. If you overlap this base area a bit, then you can have 2 points of contact, so it makes it less breakable. Nice.
Okay.
And then this top one can go up there.
Complicated.
It is a bit complicated, and you can actually put it any way that you want. This is the way that I put it because it made sense to keep it together. Do you like the way that looks?
Yeah.
Excellent. I like it too. And we're not putting a hole through this one because we have a lot of different places that we can thread the string through. So we're just going to hang it up by one of these loops at the end. So now we're going to move on to the angel. So the angel Gabriel shows up a number of times in the Christmas narrative. First he shows up to Zechariah in the temple when he announces John's birth. Then he shows up to Mary and also to Joseph. So to make the angel, we're going to take the circle. Excellent. And we're also going to take this elongated thing. So we're going to take the circle and we're going to fold it. Yeah, you're going to want to put some water down on these edges here because we're going to fold it in on itself. Perfect. Just like that. And then...
Done.
You did yours very fast. We're going to put some water on the wing area and on the head. Perfect, yeah. And the head will go there.
I need the pencil.
And make sure there's enough room around the outside edge. And so, do you know who the angel came to first out of Mary and Joseph?
Mary.
Yep, that's right. So the angel came to Mary. So that's the one we're going to make next. So we need the big Mary headpiece and the head. And so the headpiece is going to go in the back.
This head?
Yeah. So we're going to layer it back like that. And if you flip this around, so she's facing the left. And if you shift this over here, like that.
Okay.
See that? Yeah. Nice. Oh, and if you want to, we can also cut out a triangle for her hand. Do you want to give her a hand?
Yes.
Okay, so for the hand, I'm just going to cut a little triangle.
I need a hand.
You would like a hand? Right, here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So do you guys know why we have her kneeling down? She was very humble, and she accepted.
What?
Humble means you don't think too much of yourself, but you also don't think. You think rightly of yourself. And so Mary knew that she was God's servant, and even though it made no sense to her that she would have a child as a virgin, and even though it's probably really scary for her, she.
That's right.
There we go. She told God, to let his will be done and to let her have the child. So we're going to make Joseph, and he's going to be facing Mary because at the end we can put him around. So you're going to want to take the Joseph's body. You have his body? Okay. Do you guys know how Joseph responded to the news of Mary having a child, even though she was a virgin?
I don't know.
When Joseph first learned that Mary was pregnant and he didn't know that the Holy Spirit had come to her, he thought about leaving her, but in a very respectful way because he didn't want her to be shamed by the public. But then Gabriel came and told him to not be afraid because the child, Jesus, was from God. And so then Joseph accepted this, and he stuck with Mary, even though it probably looked very strange for her to be pregnant without his child. And Joseph was also from the line of David. So we're actually going to be doing the sheep now. Okay, so for the sheep, what we're going to do to make his little swirls, you're going to take some of your scrap material. I'll get you a little bit, so there's a lot of scrap material there. No, you're going to want to have it rectangular wise. So here's some for you. And we can always use more as well.
And then you want me to cut it in strips.
Yep, so we're going to cut it in little strips.
I'm going to roll it.
Yep, and we're going to roll it up.
Like this side, right?
Or the smaller side too.
Small size.
And make sure they're not too thick. That's a little bit thick, so if you make it a bit thinner, like that, that's good. Joseph, he was the descendant of David, who, that's the line that the Messiah was promised through, so Jesus. So now we move on to them getting into Bethlehem. So there was a census in the land, which means that everybody was going to be counted, so they had to go back to their hometown.
They had to go to the Bethlehem.
Yeah, they did have to go to Bethlehem.
Lived in Bethlehem.
Yeah, and when they got to Bethlehem, what did they find?
There was no room in any of the inns.
Yeah.
Someone helped. Someone said they could stay in there. They could go into the stables. Yeah, it was a stables. I don't know what it's called.
Stable. Yeah, so there was no room in the inn, and they found room in the stable. So they went to the stable and had baby Jesus there. So the sheep represents the shepherds who, like you said, the angels came and announced the birth of Jesus too. And so the shepherds ran down and were the first ones recorded to have seen Jesus and to worship him there and to tell about Jesus all through the town. So we're going to end up putting water all over the surface of the sheep and then sticking these on top.
Except the head.
Except the head and the legs. Once you think you might have enough, you can start putting them onto the sheep. Okay. Alright, the last one that we're going to do is Jesus in the manger. So what we're going to do is, with I'll put a toothpick somewhere around here, or a knife, you're going to carve in this shape of his head with a bit of blanket over top of him. And you can also put little wood texture into the manger as well if you want to. So lines across. Make sure to go all the way through or else it'll fall apart. That's good. And now, yep, you're going to overlap him a little bit so it looks like he's sort of sticking out of the manger as well. Or you can have him fully inside of it too. It's up to you. Nice. And where you're going to put the holes is in the corners, so make sure it's quite a bit of a ways in. And you can use this, or I guess you could use a toothpick too if you want to. And just puncture these holes because we're going to string it up like a little hanger at the end. And these are our finished, uncooked right now. So we've set the oven to 250 and we're going to bake this at about for 3 hours or a little bit longer.
3 hours?
3 hours. Depending how thick it is, it might take longer. You can also try a higher temperature at like 300 for 2 hours. I haven't tried that. I just let it sit in there for a long time at a low temperature so that it didn't crack. And so that's the cool part about this second. That's the cool part about this craft is because as we wait for it, just like we wait for the coming of Christmas, it sort of reflects the Advent season in that way. So yeah, thanks for participating. I thought it was fun. Goodbye.
Bye.